What's going on, everybody? This is SNL Movie Chats, and we are your hosts, John Emery Singleton
and Joshua Lewis. John and I are very excited to start this channel. We both share a great passion and admiration for movies, their directors, producers, cast members, and everyone associated to creating films.
Thank you so much for being here for our very first episode, where we will break things down on how it will work and flow on our weekly show. Every single weekend, we will be here bringing you our spoiler-filled thoughts on all the movies that you want to see.
Our chats will provide spoiler discussions on franchises like the MCU, Star Wars, the DCEU, and much more.
And you heard that right. Our chats will be spoiler heavy. So if you haven't seen the film, take the time, check it out, and come back and join the chat. We're looking forward to having you.
Now, while we love movies, we also share the same love for other mediums, like live-action television and anime.
With so many upcoming series headed to television, we're so excited to go over shows like The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Boruto, The Boys, and maybe even Season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen.
Now, with all that out of the way, we'd like to spend a little time with you guys to get to know us and why we both have a great passion for movies and television.
So, how do you love movies, Josh?
I really just appreciate seeing things that I was reading in comics and just books being brought to the big screen. And it's just great being a part of that world and just seeing things, just how they're created. And it's just like, just wow, it's a lovely experience, especially going to the movie theaters.
There's something special about going to the movies, honestly. And it's just, for me, my love for movies kind of grew somewhere in my teenage years when I realized that movies were this beautiful escape from reality while also teaching you beautiful life lessons before your eyes, and you don't even realize it until you're in that dark theater with that sweet buttery popcorn, and before you know it, your hair is standing because you're relating so much to that protagonist.
And now, we'd like to begin with our favorite anime, TV shows, and movies we think you should be adding to your watch list. You want to start things off?
Yeah, so we're going to start off with animes. So, it just so happens that the three animes that we chose are all the same.
Yeah.
So the first one is going to be My Hero Academia.
Oh, so good.
Such a good anime. About to start its 5th season. It's about a boy born into a world where powers are plentiful and all over the place, but he is born quirkless, but still has the determination to become the #1 hero. And whew, talk about that ride.
Yeah, it's definitely a roller coaster of action, funniness, sad, definitely shed a tear here and there. And I even just love the world building of My Hero and just seeing everyone with a different quirk. And as far as I can say, I've never seen the same quirk twice.
Definitely.
Which I definitely appreciate with the type of world that My Hero brings you into.
They also do a good job of giving everybody a different quirk. Super out of the box.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So, speaking of out of the box, the next anime is something that will blow your mind once you get deeper into it, and that is Attack on Titan. An anime that starts you in such a condensed world that you think you know everything that's going on, and you fall in love with characters like Eren and Mikasa and Levi and Armin, and before you know it, you have more questions than you ever thought you would have about a TV show.
Yeah, Attack on Titan is definitely great for bringing you into this harsh world and just seeing our characters that we grow to love and just seeing the decisions they end up having to make. And honestly, I think it just really brings to the forefront how any decision you make can come with a consequence, and sometimes things aren't always black and white, and sometimes you have to really make the tough choices, and being in their situations, those choices are tough. So
especially in the eyes of protagonists like Eren Yeager.
Oh yeah, definitely. Whew. And with that, speaking of great protagonists, for our next anime pick, we all love him, you all know him, it's Naruto. Naruto has definitely been someone we both grew up with, from Naruto to Naruto Shippuden, and even now with Boruto, I can definitely say Naruto has a special place in my heart on top animes.
Definitely, it's an anime that I read at first, and then we started playing the game, and then you put me on the show, and I finally got around to watching the show, and oh my god, talk about a show that so easily races from something you think you know to one of the top spots on not just your anime list, but on your show list, because it's heartfelt and you can relate to so many different characters, and just the way that they tell tragedy in the Naruto world is unbelievable. It's amazing.
I agree.
Speaking of tragedy, we can go ahead and use that to move off the anime list to talk about some of these TV shows, and that is Supernatural. Ooh. That first real tragedy of two kids crisscrossing the country, fighting supernatural beings after the death of their mother when they were children. It is amazing. The love that we have for the show is unquantifiable, to say the least.
Yeah, and it's just so a beautiful thing Supernatural was able to do with how the 15th season in the show, and starting from season 1 to where it ends, is just a well done, interesting story of just how these two brothers just deal with things, and the friends they make, the family they have, the bond that they'll never break with everyone they meet, with these crazy things they have to deal with, is just mind-blowing. And I love the Winchesters, man. Winchesters all day, every
Winchesters for life. The Boys. All right, don't forget about that. Speaking of The Boys, the television series on Amazon Prime.
Good segue.
Talk about what we thought for years after watching so many comic book films was, I wonder what heroes would be like in the real world. And boy, does The Boys.
It's scary.
Yeah, it's kind of terrifying the way that this show depicts how they could be, and all it takes is really one bad mood, one bad day kind of thing. Is kind of how they... It's insane, and that's definitely something you need to add to that watch list.
Definitely. And I think they also do a really interesting thing of making it almost modern day, like as if heroes were living in the time we're in now, and just seeing just the, just the like red tape that goes behind the scenes of making the hero, because these people aren't technically heroes, at least not by the definition,
Definitely not by our standards.
Yeah. They're just playing a part, and it's just interesting to see how they are when, the eyes aren't on them, and the things they do is just, it's definitely tough. But to also see our characters that we're following in The Boys be regular people and having to deal with these soups, as they call them in the show, it just brings that intensity that you're genuinely scared every single episode because you have no idea what's going to happen. So if you don't or aren't watching that, we're telling you, check it out.
For real.
Definitely.
Okay. And, you go.
Alright, cool. So something else I'd like to point out for a sitcom that I definitely like, and if you haven't heard about it, you have to check it out, and that's How I Met Your Mother. I think that one is just very, very underrated, if you ask me. And honestly, I think you're just following this man named Ted Mosby, who's just trying to find the love of his life in the craziest city you can try and find love in. And honestly, just the people you meet, the people that he hangs out with, Barney Stinson, Lily Aldrin, Robin Scherbatsky, I'm forgetting the last one, Marshall Erickson. Like, these characters are just so brought to life in the best way that you almost feel like you're a part of the group.
You really do, and that's something I caught on so quick to watching the show is when you get introduced to these characters, you almost feel like you're pseudo being introduced into the group as well, and it's a wild ride with so many laughs and such an interesting story, a very interesting ending, and it has those moments of relativity, if you will, if that's even a word, where you get it and you understand because you've been there in some of those aspects, and I think they capture that really well, honestly.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, with the last two shows on our list for television, we both differed. So do you want to start out with what you have?
So for me, I put Snowfall. It's a very hard watch show, definitely TVMA. It just goes to show you that there's a lot of storylines that goes on in just everyday life, and just to see all these different people from different backgrounds be brought together by this one thing, and that thing being something that ran through, if I'm saying it right, LA at the time. It's just crazy it's just crazy. It's a really crazy ride. You honestly don't know where you're going to end up, but when you find out where you are, you're just kind of like, wow, where are we going from here? So I definitely suggest that to anyone who haven't seen it or heard about it. It's called Snowfall. I think you can check it out on Hulu if you have that. It's definitely a good watch. 3 seasons, guys.
I've never seen it, but I only hear good things come out of Josh's mouth when he talks about it. So if he's got the stamp, and it's got my stamp too. For me, one that I put that we differ from is When They See Us. It's a 4-episode limited series directed by Ava DuVernay about the Parkland Five, and it is easily one of the most riveting and emotional historical events told on television that I've ever seen. And it's heartbreaking, and it's real and intense, and you couldn't ask for better young actors to portray the Parkland Five at that time, because they are simply amazing. And while it is difficult to watch, I do definitely suggest that you put it on your watch list if you have the time. It's definitely not a date night thing though, just to keep in mind.
So yeah, if you guys have the free time, check that out. And now we'd like to talk about our movie list. So if you don't mind, I'd like to start. For mine's, we all seen it, or most of us have. We all love it. Heath Ledger plays the Joker. Christian Bale plays Batman. And I'm talking about The Dark Knight. Oof. Christopher Nolan directs these movies, this series of Batman films, and talk about bringing Batman back in, especially from people we had portrayed him before with
Clooney, Keating.
Thank you. Just so many great actors, all of them, to come before, and for Christian Bale to take on the mantle and bring him to light with Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, and play opposite of Heath Ledger. May he rest in peace. What a great, phenomenal Joker. I think the best one we ever had.
I feel like with that movie too, that was almost the precursor of what The Boys gave us. Just simply, that movie was just so grounded. And I definitely agree with you. If it's not somewhere in your top films, it's probably because you just haven't seen it yet, honestly. For me, my first one for the movies that I chose, it's going to be Whiplash. Miles Teller, J.K. Rowling, I don't know what I'm saying, J.K. Simmons. And it's fantastic, about a kid trying to get into one of the most prestigious schools for jazz band. And it is amazing. Talk about the acting talent of Miles Teller. If you're not watching this kid, he is an actor of our generation that 15 years from now, when we're talking, we're going to be talking about Miles Teller. You just pay attention to him, guys. He's there. He's ready.
For the third one, I'd like to shift gears a little bit and go into comedy. I put Neighbors. Directed by Nicholas Stoller, cast members Seth Rogen and Zac Efron. Talk about a funny, great time at the movie theater. I still remember the first time to go watch it. We watched it together for the first time, actually.
Oh, yeah.
It was just hilarious, balls to the wall, great. Just couldn't. And honestly, it was just, I love seeing Zac Efron. I think he's a real funny actor. Especially coming from, seeing him stuff like High School Musical. Like, it's just, I never thought I could see him play this character and just be so well at it. Especially playing opposite of Seth Rogen at that,
Yeah, I agree. I think this was the movie for me. I don't know how much that says, but this is the movie for me where Zac Efron kind of showed that I can act and I can do more than just what you think I can. I feel like that was this movie, because he is so funny, and his comedic timing in this movie is really something special.
Yeah, especially playing off of Seth Rogen. His beats in that movie are just great. Always.
To kind of pivot in the same genre, a comedy that I chose was The Other Guys. Now, I know I'm going to catch flack for this, but I'm just not the biggest fan of Will Ferrell. His comedy just doesn't work for me. Don't shoot. But when him and Mark Wahlberg get together to make a film, their chemistry carries an entire film, and the laughs in this movie are so satirical, and it's one of those movies where if you're not laughing, that means you fell asleep, because it's too funny.
Yeah, no, I agree. The Other Guys is definitely another one. I've seen it a couple of times, and as someone who doesn't, again, I don't hate Will Ferrell or anything. I do like some of his movies. I mean, Talladega Nights, the movie's hilarious.
That was a good one.
Bobby, such a good one. But seeing him with Mark Wahlberg and just how they play off each other, and just this cop trying to be as serious as he can be with this other one who's just, you're more or less surprised he's even a cop. I mean, it's funny. It's definitely hilarious and a good time, a good movie to watch.
Hey, Gator don't play no shit, man. To kind of pivot to a different genre, my next pick would be from easily the greatest triumph in the last 30 years of cinematic universe, That's the MCU, and we're talking Civil War, which is my number one pick for MCU movies. The movie is so well done by the Russo brothers, featuring 80,000 A-list actors. You've got Paul Bettany, Elizabeth Olsen, of course Chris Evans, and RDJ. The story between the dispute of Captain America and Iron Man and the way that it was adapted from the comics is so... That was the movie that really elevated me to go, I like how they're adapting some things to... No, the MCU and Kevin Feige can adapt drastically and still get it right.
Oh yeah. And it's just so nice to see that with Civil War, they did such a great job introducing newer characters like Black Panther and of course Spider-Man. I mean, Tom Holland to come into this movie with all these big time stars that we've already been seeing for years now, and just almost really keeping up with them.
Steal the scene almost.
Yeah. You really came in and like stealing Cap Shield, stole the scene. Legit.
Absolutely.
And to segue from that, since we're talking about Tom Holland, I had Spiderman Homecoming as my next movie. As a really big Spider-Man fan, I just love the energy and just the lightheartedness that he brings to the character Peter Parker. And I feel like he fires off on all cylinders of just Peter being a, not necessarily a loner, but he has his friend Ned, just being at home with his aunt, but then also being a kid. I think that's the biggest core of Spider-Man that we never really got to see until Tom Holland and with the MCU Spider-Man that they have. And just seeing how anyone would be if you just got done fighting Avengers. You'd want to be back into the world, especially as a hero. I mean, Tony Stark made your suit. Who wouldn't want to get out of school and put that suit on? Because I know I would.
Every day until the sun went down.
Yeah, and another great casting as well with Michael Keating as Vulture.
Oh yeah,
such a good reveal, good shock value. I was in it all the way.
And a villain we had never seen before.
That as well, yeah. They really fired off on all cylinders with that movie. And Tom Holland, I love you as Spider-Man. Can't wait for your film to come out this year, right? End of the year?
Yeah, No Way Home.
So excited for that, guys. Check that out, Homecoming and Far From Home. If you haven't, I highly suggest it.
And then my last movie pick for us is definitely going to be something that blew me away, simply because subtitles kind of to a degree used to make me hesitant to watch a film or show, and that's Parasite. Oh my God. When I tell you, it's been a long time since I've seen a movie that deserved to sweep at the Oscars the way that the Parasite did. It's amazing. I've never seen a movie perfectly jump from genre to genre so well, let alone be a foreign film. I was truly blown away, and it broke the wall for me, and I am now definitely giving any and all foreign films a chance now, thanks to Parasite.
Yeah, and it's funny too because John told me about the film, which even got me to watch it. And just watching it, and even coming from watching anime, I never minded watching things with subtitles, especially more so anime because the episodes are so short. So watching a whole almost 2.5 hour movie was a little bit different. But with Parasite, it just brings you in and just almost you're just still engaged even though you're reading everything. And honestly, it even hits so many different movie elements that I couldn't even classify it in one genre.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just a really great roller coaster ride. And honestly, by the end of the movie, you definitely didn't expect to get to where you're at by the end of it. So if you haven't checked that out, I would definitely suggest that as well. That was a great pick, John. Really.
Thank you.
And with that, I think we'll end the chat there. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And if you like being a part of the chat, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and make sure you have the notification bell ringing for the next SNL movie chat. Until next time, you can follow me at Josh5K on IG and Twitter.
You can follow me at JohnEmery97 on Twitter and JohnEmery_Singleton on Instagram.
Make sure you support your local movie theaters or streaming service of choice. And until next time, thanks for chatting.